Welcome, everybody, and thank you for coming again. This will probably be our last press conference like this until August 18th, after the August 17th council meeting. So I just want to thank all of you for continuing to come out for this last 6 months or so. At this point, I'm going to say, I guess, no news is good news. I don't have very much for you, but just maybe an anecdotal story. We opened up Echodale, as you're all well aware, on Friday, and I think there was some concern around City Hall, and even in the media you were asking me questions. Is this going to be another Sylvan Lake, or are we going to see people not following the rules? And I have to tell you that I went out in the hats and in shorts and a t-shirt and just walked around Echodale with one of the commissioners, and I was very, very happy and pleased to see that the residents of Medicine Hat are continuing to follow the rules as best as they can. Even I know we're getting COVID fatigue, and it's difficult to continue to social distance, and not always things aren't quite back to normal again. But it was great to see that we didn't have a Sylvan Lake, frankly, and I think it's also representative in our cases. I think everybody is aware that the cases are starting to rise again in Alberta, but for the most part in Medicine Hat, once again, Hatters are following the rules and making a very, very good example to the rest of the province. So I want to thank them and everybody for that as well. And I also, some good news, as you know, we've been reporting on the river every one of these press conferences, and as you can see, it's pretty much back to normal. And so we won't be talking about the river anymore, barring unforeseen circumstances. And I don't know if this is good news or bad news, but even the temporary berms will start to come down fairly soon. You'll start to see them come down. So things are returning to normal that way. And other than that, I'm going to let Merrick give a little bit of an update, and then thank you very much.
I just want to reiterate a couple of things that Mayor Clugston had said, specifically around just what I've typically said, the responsible decision maker or responsible choices of members of the public. And I say thank you every time that I come up here in front of this podium, and thank you is very much specifically directed to the members of the public and our residents in general, and I really do mean it. And I want to reiterate my thank you to the residents of this community for two specific reasons. Is number one is we're a little bit of an anomaly down in southeastern Alberta here. So the cases are rising. If you could look at some charts and some various numbers there on the province's website, the numbers are increasing. However, the numbers in southeastern Alberta are remaining fairly static. So we're sitting at 5 active cases within Medicine Hat, and so this just shows that all of us here, all of us maybe watching this, and all of this maybe watching us at a later date is based on all of the choices that we've made throughout this entire process. And again, I want to applaud all the residents for practicing those things that I've been mentioning time and time again, with the physical distancing and the hand washing and staying home when you're sick, because those are the measures that will work. As much as there are controls out there that, when you go to the mall or you come to City Hall and all of those other things is requirements to put in place, or requirement for these businesses to put in place, whether it be barriers or hand sanitizers or signs, those do work, but the controls that work the most are the controls that we have a direct influence over, that each one of us has a direct influence over. That very much is the monitoring of our own symptoms and washing our own hands and various things like that. And so that's the first item. And the second item that I wanted to speak about, and Mayor Clugston did speak about it as well, is just based on my own personal observations. And so I think everybody, and Mayor Clugston said it very well, I think everybody was a little bit, I always call it cautiously optimistic when it came to Echodale, recognizing that what we saw at Alberta Beach or Sylvan Lake, where that was not responsible decision making and not responsible choices, but we did it. We opened up Echodale, and I was optimistic on this one, and it worked out. And I want to, again, based on my own personal observations, applaud our residents for practicing that physical distancing and just having that spot that we all are very proud of, specifically Eckodale, and having the ability for that to number one, be open, and number one, to stay open. And so all of these items that we all practice on a regular basis is what actually keeps those facilities or areas open. But that doesn't mean that we can't let our guard down, because this is the point where we need to be as vigilant as ever when it comes to practicing some of these measures, because I did mention that the numbers are rising. And it is, I'm by no means a health expert, but you can start thinking about, maybe why some of these numbers are going up. And it's could be a result of, and it probably is a result of some of the relaunch activities and some of the opening up of various, businesses and facilities right across the province. But also I said this 2 weeks ago, whereas the most impacted age group with this is the age 20 to 29. So when this first started, it was actually a little bit on the older side. But it's 20 to 29, and it continues to stay within that age group of 20 to 29. And so this is where we all need to, specifically within that age group, is really take this to heart. And I'll say this again and again, is you may not think that you're not impacted by this virus, but you have to think about all those other people that are impacted. So if you're 20 to 29 years old, actually the 30 to 39 is also going up. You may not think that you're going to get sick and you're not going to go into the hospital and all of those things, so you may brush it off, but you have to think about who you're actually interacting with. You might be interacting with your grandparents. You might be interacting even with your parents. It's those individuals that are going to be impacted. It's those individuals that are get our hospital case counts up, get our ICU counts up. And so we still have to be vigilant within this process, and ever more vigilant as we've ever been before, because this is a time where we really need to practice what we've all become familiar with. Dr. Hinshaw has used this phrase time and time again, and I've started actually using it as well, because we do see it across the province, and it's something that's called rule fatigue. As much as it's almost like the fingernails on the chalkboard, thinking about stay home when you're sick and washing your hands, but it works and it's important. And personally, I will continue to say that, and I will continue to practice those measures. And so, but I just also am very thankful at the same time that we are in this area where we haven't seen a high case count, and I don't foresee us seeing a high case count, because I know that our residents are really taking this and practicing those measures that we've all been so familiar with. So with that, I just wanted to provide just a brief summary as to some of the, openings that we've had. And I think it's really amazing, even when I was writing this down, as to what we've all accomplished throughout this process. So we've opened up the Family Leisure Center, Strathcona Pools opened up, Eckodale's opened up, City Hall's opened up, we've increased our transit ridership, Esplanade's opened up, other outdoor recreational spaces such as spray parks and skate parks and playgrounds. All of these things is we're getting close to almost to the point where everything that we've closed is actually opened back up again, obviously with all of these measures in place, such as the physical distancing and the limiting of capacity based on the mass gathering requirements. So again, a true testament to, the responsible decision making from the public. We are still looking at some other items, of course, and some other facilities, such as other pools, and obviously the Canalta Center once stage 3 comes about, which I don't have a date for. I get the date the same day the public does, and so that's when we start to look at some of those areas as well. But we will continue to assess based on the provincial requirements and the provincial announcements. But I just wanted to leave this off by once again saying thank you, and I truly, truly do mean that for everybody that is watching it. Yeah, the question was, where's the city at with, various other recreational facilities such as the Kinplex, and are we going to open it up? And right now, so the rink is opened up at the Family Leisure Center, and so we're just assessing right now based on the I guess, the use and the uptake of that, and then we'll reassess based on other rinks that we would open up. So I don't have a specific time frame or an answer specifically if it's a yes or a no, but obviously we don't want to open up too many facilities when they're actually not being used. And so that's actually with our pools as well. That's what we're looking at as well, is based on the use at the Family Leisure Center and Strathcona Pool, is do we actually need to open up more, recognizing that the physical distancing limits do apply. So if there's a big uptake, obviously, then that would drive us to open up more facilities.
So the question is about the city's debt limit and the amount of borrowing that is being occurring during the last spring, 66 million for a new LM6, well, perhaps a new LM6000, and 80 million for well abandonment. So we are still within our debt limit requirements. Now the city is somewhat more strict upon itself than the provincial government. And there's two measures. There's the total debt limit based on revenue, and there's also the ability to service the debt based upon the revenue. And the interest, one of the nice things, or the better things right now, is that because of lower interest rates, we are able to borrow, and so the servicing costs are less. I think everybody's aware of that right now. But I want to stress, and I need to stress, that this is not like the other two levels of government. We are not borrowing for operating. We are not borrowing to pay the police or any of the employees. That we are in the business. And when you look at our municipal debt, which is not changing on the municipal side, is actually going down. But in the business units, absolutely. Borrowing is a tool to further our interests, and I'm confident that I know we're within our limits. And as well, I'm hoping that this actually new generator comes in below that, like the last one did. And we expect to pay it off fairly quickly, like Unit 16. But I don't want to be compared to what you see going on at the federal level. These assets are self-serving. So obviously as business units, this is not, the taxpayer is not having to fund. These are self-serving.